What's going on, TAP? That's right. This your boy Play B chillin'. I got my boy Rev with me. What's going on, Rev? How's it going, man?
Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Sir Rev the Servant, and we have a couple of very special guests today. I don't know how this just happened to work out this way. On the phone or FaceTime, or no, we're not sponsored by Apple.
Oh yeah.
No, we're not yet. But so
they still make those.
Here we have.
I think you guys are though.
Here we have all the way from the beautiful Mexican state of what state are you in?
Michoacan.
That's
Awesome.
That's right. No, let me spell it for you guys.
It's Frank. Frank, a good
Frank the
friend,
Tank.
and also his lovely wife, Blanca, is sitting right here.
Yes.
You know, this is such bad mic placement. I'm looking at the video now, and I can see we just covered her full face with it. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. So, anyways,
They're like,
go ahead.
that's what I said since the very beginning. I said, I think you're in 60 minutes.
Yeah.
So, anyways, we have a special guest because we love insightful conversation. And one time honestly, the only one time that I've actually had to sit down and chance to speak with Frank was only once, and it was a pretty insightful conversation. He is very intelligent, very knowledgeable, with a lot of interesting things to say. So I wanted to invite him on because his story, for what I know about it, is pretty interesting. This is an individual that went from living in Las Vegas and moved to Mexico, because typically it's the opposite way around. But hey,
I know, huh?
I know, huh?
They're not supposed to be jumping the border from over there. They're supposed to be jumping the border from here.
Yeah, right.
Go in the wrong direction. So, I mean, you do have an interesting take, like living here in the United States for as long as you did, because you've actually had a really long career, from what I understand, a really long career here in the States working, and then now you've decided to retire and move out to Mexico, where you're.
Nice.
Are you originally from Michoacan?
Yes, I was originally born here. That was 1965. Go ahead. I'll let you ask the questions. You know, because if I start getting into all this, man, I'm going to tell you a conversation that's, we're going to end up here for a week.
Oh yeah. Well,
we need audio. So.
Wait a minute. And that's going to be just one subject.
Oh, it's there.
Well, yeah, just one. Well, and to be honest, one of the reasons why I did ask you to come on, or wanted you to come on today, was because I know that in talking with Blanca, your wife, that understanding that there might be some ideological difference between us, even politically, and all that kind of crazy stuff. So I figured that'd be interesting to talk to, because like me and Beef talked about before, we enjoy talking with people who disagree with us, because it's insightful. I mean, that's how we grow. I think in our current climate right now, you're seeing a lot of people that either want to shut down people that disagree with them, or they just want to completely run and ignore the completely other side. But I think it's really important and helpful to kind of like go right into it and talk about those things, because that's what makes us grow stronger and smarter.
I agree with you 100%.
So, but before we
100%.
get into all that, because I know that's going to be pretty deep, I just want to get a little bit more information about you, like currently right now, because I've seen some of the photos and videos of your place down there, and it looks pretty nice. So, are you, for the lack of a better term, like self-sufficient down there with? Because I know you have a lot of property. You have raising animals.
Nice.
What?
Now, listen, I think that the bottom line, no matter where you are in the world, I think that you need to shoot to be self-efficient, regardless of what you do, regardless of where you are, and regardless of your economic situation, your political status, your religious beliefs, regardless of what it is. I think we all got to shoot for being self-efficient.
Well,
and being self-efficient.
Nice.
Yeah,
the most efficient way, because we have the technology, we have the knowledge to do things, then why are we fucking our planet the way we are?
No, okay, and that's a great point, and we're gonna look like we're going into that topic there. But before we do that, though, there's something I wanted to ask, because how do we in our modern age become self-sufficient when we're so reliant on certain things, food chain supplies, and nobody knows how to go out, and I don't
know how to farm. I don't know how to.
Last week we talked to Bao, and we were talking about how she knows how to slaughter a chicken. You know, I don't know anybody.
That takes me back to when I was a kid. If anything.
Well, you know what? I tell you this much though. I bet you that if you get hungry, you'll know how to.
Yeah, that's
Yes.
Hey,
that's
Yeah, I mean,
that's real, man. That's real.
and I think there's a lot of value in that, but I think that's lost. Like, what's gonna happen? And we've talked about this before. What would happen if all of a sudden just our infrastructure just falls apart, right? Who's going to know instantaneously how to go out and fish, hunt, raise their own food? That to me is a lost art that is life or death.
You know, that's the point where I'm gonna wish I bought more ammo. You know, because when COVID busted out and everything last year, my wife was like, "Yo, let's hoard water and food," and I go, "No, I'm buying bullets." And she looked at me. I go, "Babe, with these bullets, we could get all the food and water you want." You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead.
No. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
You know, and that's one of the. I think that's one of the things, though. You know, whenever we see a little catastrophe, no matter what it is, or how small or big, or what kind of impact this has on society, when we see any small deviation from what we used to, we don't know how to deal with it. Why? Because we live in cities that provide everything from us. You know, they provide for us, but at the same time, we have to be a slave to the system.
Yeah.
Yeah, that man.
If you want to survive, you have to be a slave to the system. If you get out of that system and you feel like you're out of the cage, like what the hell do I do now?
Yeah.
You don't know how to live out of that system, out of that cage
Right.
that has been created for you since the very beginning, since you were born. You saw your parents growing, working, struggling, doing this, doing that, and that's a cage that is beginning to be built since the very beginning. It's a social problem. You need to get out of the cage. No matter if you guys are young, get out of that cage for a little bit and see it. You know, listen. What do you got to lose?
Yeah. No. Exactly.
You don't have to say, listen, I'm going to go in and be out on the wild with the wolves for a month with no food. That would be stupid. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Really get out there let's put yourself. I got $500 in my pocket. And if I had to survive out of this $500, what would I do the right way? Not the right way as an individual. What would I do if I need to survive out of this? Okay. What would you do? How would you do it? Put yourself in a situation and then work on that.
Well, and
that's good though. I mean, there's a lot to digest right there.
Well, no, I know, but the interesting thing like that, even with money, like our money right now technically is worthless. It's a promise to eventually give you money because we're not backed on the gold standard no more. So that's why when I look at money and I'm just like, okay, wait, that's great, but what's more valuable than money? Because if there's no value in a piece of paper anymore, water, food, shelter. Yeah. Those are the things that are ultimately going to matter. You know. But I'm talking about like when society completely crumbles. But the likelihood that happened, I mean, I don't know. I don't see it happening. A lot of people assume that it was going to happen. You know, a lot of people, me included, thought that the world was going to fall apart when Donald Trump was elected in 2016. You know, because I just
except for my wife, she said, I have the better thing. You know what? And I totally agree. Mama, you told me, and you really agree with it, and I really supported you. I've always been a Republican supporter. Always been, always have. I always know that the way it used to be, it's not anymore. I don't see the Republican Party anymore. It's not. The turn he has taken.
I don't know. I'm glad. I'm kind of glad that where it's gone. Because in our reality, I've never been a Republican supporter. Growing up, and we've talked about this before, growing up, I was more Democrat leaning as things had gone on. And like I said, in 2016, I didn't vote for Trump. I voted third party Gary Johnson. You know, I think you did also.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
I was not a fan of Hillary Clinton. I was not a fan of the political establishment. But I voted for Gary Johnson. Now, as Trump took office, I just assumed that this is going to be the beginning of the end. But I have to admit that I was wrong. I believed what CNN was saying. They made Trump to be out this
orange
evil
devil.
Yeah, this devil that I don't think he wasn't. And I'm going to be frank with you, Frank. I did. I mean, I think I could speak for Bielsa. It's like we both decided to vote for Donald Trump because he was not a Republican.
Yeah.
And I think that's the number one thing that a lot of
Well, that's
people.
the whole thing that nobody understands. Trump has never been a Republican. He always supported the Democrats.
Well,
Yeah.
and I think the thing is though, Trump is not. How to put it this way? So
I think he broke the status quo, and that's what
he
got
did.
everybody scared.
Just think for a second, though. Okay, what did really Trump have to win? That established the base, that he already got the base and all that. You know that shit is not going to happen in the U.S. That the U.S. is going to allow to be that extremist to either one side and divide the nation in half the way Trump wants it. It's not going to happen. It's just not going to happen. It's no way it's going to happen. The Constitution is not on that. The Constitution speaks of equality. The Constitution is the freedom. What is the thing that really the Constitution speaks of? Okay.
Right.
Well, and that's an interesting point. Let's back up and talk about there because we've talked. I have my brother. Sometimes we have him on, and he's very anti-American. I mean, I don't want to put too much into it. Anti-American, but that he wants to see the complete destruction of the Constitution. Do you agree with that? Do you think we should just abolish the Constitution and start all over with something, or do you see value in it?
The Constitution, it's done right. It's done right. It just cannot be interpreted the way you want to be, the way you feel like it.
Yeah.
It can't. It can't be like that. The Constitution is written. It's written great. Everything is placed in order. What's the checks and balances? The checks and balances is for that specific thing. But
Yeah, that's true. Yep.
It didn't happen this time. Checks and balances went completely out the door. The Constitution is done right. I don't think it has to be no enhance, no change, no enhance it to the needs of society.
Like today's, and I think it's the way we interpret it.
Not change it, no enhance it.
Oh, okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, I like that.
And I think that's why we have the amendments. I think what the amendments have done. But I think in some of the things, when I look at the Constitution, for example, there are certain things that are inherently special about the Constitution that not. You could say that the Constitution is good, but hasn't always been lived up to, right? Like for slavery,
Never.
for instance. And
the bottom thing in the Constitution is life and the pursuit of happiness.
Life, liberty, and the
main thing. That is the main thing in the Constitution.
Yep.
And it speaks of life and the pursuit of happiness. Then where is it that the life begins and where is it that your happiness begins? What are we really happy as individuals? Are we? Are we really happy? Are we really happy as a society?
Frank, man, you're an awesome individual. Just sorry to cut you off, but I just wanted to make sure we got that point across because I know it's breaking up a little bit. But I like how you're saying, where does life and happiness begin? At what point is it that we reach that plateau? In some cases, some would say, oh, well, as long as I'm here, you know what I mean? But then you got people such as Frank that get here and leave. But nonetheless, even for every country, I think that's an incredible way of thinking.
There is
about
good
it.
and bad, but when you're talking about happiness, I think and that's a very subjective thing because happiness could mean different things to different people.
Right.
Now, I do see the pursuit of happiness as not being a fruitful endeavor because nothing will ultimately make you happy. I think
give me $1 million, I'd be happy. I mean, for the time
for
being,
a while because $1 million.
But essentially, you could buy happiness.
Yeah, but I think the real goal is contentment, and that's a biblical issue.
Yeah.
Our biblical concept of living contentment, and I think that's something that Paul was saying.
We are not designed to be happy. Why? Because we just not. We have questions. We have a lot of questions. We cannot settle for one question. When it comes, for example, I'm going to put you one thing, and then it's going to be a totally different subject. Religion. For example, happiness. What is it? When you come to that from a religion point of view, you cannot just believe something. You cannot believe either way. It has to be proven. You have to prove it. You have to prove something. It doesn't matter what it's just a feeling. It's just and that's why as society we're always growing. We're never happy with ourselves because we always ask ourselves questions. It's either a religion question, a political question, it's other thing, but we're constant in evolution ourselves. And that's what makes us who we are. We will never stop asking questions no matter what. That is our nature.
Yeah, and look, and I completely agree with that. that even in a religious context, that you have to always be asking questions. The moment that say that you have to stop
You
asking
get complacent.
questions, that's the moment that I would say you should turn and run from whatever religious institution that is, because I really think that question and even doubt. I don't see doubt contradicting anything that you see in the Bible or Scripture from what I've read.
Right.
And I think a lot, and then that's very scary. And it was interesting because I was listening to this thing about Jim Jones and the People's Temple and all that stuff that happened.
Don't drink the Kool-Aid, man.
And yes, you have to be very wary of people that will blindly follow something. But when people are in pursuit of happiness, and this goes back to that, because a lot of people that fall into to religious fundamentalism are chasing happiness. So then that's what they come into this group. They feel accepted. I feel they're chasing the
Sounds like
feeling.
that cult we were in.
Yep.
But how can you tell though? Back again, it's the same subject, but which is overlapping, looping into the conversation. How can you perceive happiness when you're not designed to perceive happiness? We only see a plain view. We don't see three-dimensional. We can understand three-dimensional view. Nevertheless, three-dimensional thinking.
Yeah.
If everything you see and perceive in your life, then how the hell do you know even if happiness is part of what you perceive if you cannot see past that?
Yeah.
How do you know when I know I'm looking from the emotional point of view, happiness. It's an emotional point of view. Happiness is an emotion. It's regardless, but it is an emotion.
It is, and I think that emotions are a vital part.
And we cannot see things. We only see bidimensional. I mean, our biggest system right now is bidimensional, ones and zeros.
Yep, binary.
I mean, that's as far as we go. We only see up and down, dark and day and night, white and red, white and black, blue one, up, down, sideways, this, deep, shallow. It's always the opposite of the other. Why? Because our thinking is just bidimensional. Then how can you even understand three-dimensional? How can you even perceive an object, a three-dimensional object inside a bidimensional field? There's no way you can perceive it. You perceive segments of the three-dimensional object inside that. It's the same with emotion. You're not going to perceive happiness because it's not. There is no such thing as happiness. Content, you said it before, at the moment. You're content. You just, okay, I got what I wanted today. Yeah, cool. Tomorrow I want something different. Fuck it.
Well, no, and that is a great point, and that's actually something that I had to learn to understand and learn to live by. That happiness is always this just never ending.
It's an emotion. It's just an emotion. It's a state of mind. It's just an emotion. Like everything else, our emotions is just vibrations at a different rate. You experience, for example, pain is an emotion. Laughter is an emotion. It's the same. Laughter and pain is the same emotion, just at a different wavelength. The pain also moves in waves, like electricity.
Yeah.
And you perceive it in a different emotion, different way, vibrates differently. The emotion is stronger.
How do you control? How do you manage emotions? I know a lot of people can manage, and
you don't manage emotions. No, you analyze the emotion. If you get for example, upset about something, you ask yourself, like, what the fuck did I get upset about?
Yeah, no shit.
Really, was it worth it? I mean, is it like, damn, analyze it. Take your time to analyze, ask questions. I mean, aren't we always asking questions? We want to ask questions about ourselves. Really, how many of us truly know ourselves? Truly know ourselves? I don't know myself.
I had to do a bass drop.
I am beginning to understand who the fuck I am.
Yeah, no, and that's just wisdom, just compounded. Just there's layers and layers there that you really have to spend a lot of time and a lot of effort and a lot of soul searching to really understand those things. It took a lot for me to understand exactly what you're talking about. That whole idea that what I learned was that when you feel emotions are just an indicator, a light on the dash, like a check engine light. It's just letting you know that there's something there that needs attention. But the moment that we don't pay attention to that indication, then it just boils in, and then all of a sudden you have a complete failure.
Well, speaking of emotions, that's what stress is. When your body feels stress, it's telling you there's something in your environment that needs to change. And if you don't change it, your body starts to produce chemicals to make you want to do the change. That's why you feel this anxiety, you feel the stress. But if we're not in tune to ourselves, we don't know what it is that we need to change. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something that I've started to come across in my own personal life, whereas I started meditating, taking self-inventory, and looking at things in my life that I'm doing either to myself or that I'm allowing to happen around me that's causing the stress. And that way I could get to the root issue of it and deal with it that way. But that kind of goes along the point with emotions. You know, if we're not sensitive to what our body's telling us or how we feel, and we just poo-poo it away and like, oh, whatever, you know, then we never change. You know, we will never change, we'll never grow, and we'll never see the other side, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? So emotions, yeah, they play a very powerful role, especially in the human body, I believe. But before we continue further, I just want to give a quick disclaimer out there. We're speaking with Frank from Mexico, and we're having some connection issues, so it might sound a little here and there, but we're going to continue to go with it. Huh? Let's do it.
We're doing it. It's really interesting. It's how is where you're at in Michoacan differ from where you used to live at in Vegas?
Well, there's a big difference. I mean, you know, you come from the most well-led city in the world, you know, to the slowest place in the planet. Yeah. So that's the contrast.
It's not too much of a hustle and bustle.
Is it quieter?
We have a small town. We have all the services. You know, we have everything. I mean, we have internet. We have everything. We have roads. We have all the services. You know, drinking potable drinking water. We have sewage, city sewage. We have city water. We have, like I said, all the services we have. You know, it's a small town. It's a very old town. It was founded about 625 years ago.
Wow.
And
Wow, that's
right. The church is one of the landmarks here in town. It's the church that was built by the Spaniards when they first came here. It's a huge church. It's all built out of red rock. It's probably it's about maybe the 30 story high, 25 story high church. It's all made out of red rock, all of it, and it has a lot of architectural styles, all the old styles.
I love that stuff. Yeah.
It has the Corinthian style, it has the Onyx style, and the Doric style. Yes, all those three styles.
Yeah.
Blanca's seen it. What do you think, Blanca? I mean, you know, we haven't not let talk to my wife here.
Yeah,
You know,
she's shy. This is the first time I've seen her shy to say.
She's usually yelling at Jose.
Yeah, hitting me with the broom and stuff.
My wife has the greatest mind. She's very bright. You just need to get to know her.
No, she's awesome. I've gotten to know her a little bit. She's awesome.
She has a hard time opening to people, distrust throughout her life, and you know, and I see that. But she has a beautiful mind. She's very gentle. She's very straightforward. She's not gonna lie to you. She's gonna stay straightforward.
Yeah.
She feels about you. She's not gonna be the one who's gonna go and tell the neighbor, oh, you know, so and so is this and all that, and then she's gonna see you and smile on your face.
Well,
she's not gonna do that.
Well, the interesting thing with her is like when you listen to the story, and I don't know, my wife has shared a lot about the story of how they came here and they came across multiple tries, multiple attempts, and it's an interesting story, but I'm not going to share it. I'll let them share it when they want to share it. But what we brought up earlier was this whole idea of now how do we handle this whole thing about Trump, especially during the 2020 election cycle, because it was really interesting that because, like I said, there was a lot of people that technically demographically should not have been voting for Trump, but actually I found out we're voting for Trump. I voted for Trump. You voted for Trump. My
well, now
wife
I guess
voted for
I guess
Trump.
now we're all in trouble or something.
My mother-in-law voted for Trump.
Well, I guess now now they're going to come after us.
But what I'm saying though is just like it was really interesting because that metamorphosis or that shift in my mind happened during the course of his presidency. It didn't just happen. I wasn't a Trumper, what they call a Trumper, from day one. It was something that I gradually started learning when I started listening to the news. And this is something interesting that Tim Pool had actually pointed out, and I quote him a lot because I really trust what he says. He says when you look at leftists and liberals and where they get their information from, it's always from only the left. But when you look at libertarians, centrists, and conservatives, they'll get this majority of their stuff from the right, but they're still knowing what the left believes and what they think. But the left never knows what's on the minds of the people that are on the right side. And I do think that that's part of the reason why everybody wanted to spin. The only way they were going to win this was to spin it. People on the left were diehard against Trump because all they were listening to was what CNN was saying, and they were calling him probably the worst man alive. The Hitler, the racist, and things along those lines. Bad. So, Frank, I want to ask you, it's like, considering all of that, knowing that you don't really view Trump and his presidency too fondly, what is your thoughts, number one, about Trump, specifically Trump, his personality, his politics, and also those from either the minority, Hispanic, African American, or other people that were voting for Trump also?
You can't say people now.
Oh, sorry.
That excludes other people.
Trump has really never been a politician. He was always the one, getting the favorites from the politicians. That's why he knew so much about politics, because he worked with all of them.
Yeah.
All of them worked with him. So Trump knew he heard one and he heard the other. He never leaned towards Democrat and he never leaned towards Republican. He was in the middle.
Yeah.
And he listened to both sides, and he saw the discontent in the United States. He saw how divided it was. He knew it. Before he went into this, he knew it. He knew he could win it. He knew, because why? He played the middle. And Trump came and he just took over. What he didn't think, I don't think, is that as smart as he is and as money man as he is, that the only ones that govern this really fucking world is the central banks. And that's how I'm thinking. And he forgot that totally, completely, that no matter what he can do, how big he want to be, how big of a nation, the central banks control the whole freaking thing.
Yeah.
The whole banks, the ones that can make the money. You gotta understand government. You have to understand how money is created.
Yeah.
And there is a book for that. It's called Modern Money Mechanics. It's a book that is out there. It's every year, but get it. It's available. Modern Money Mechanics.
Modern Money Mechanics.
Modern Money Mechanics. And it tells you about how really the bank in. Now look, there are people who have fought against the government, against the IRS, and won the cases. Why? Because it's not a legitimate institution.
No, it's not.
The banks, not. If anyone, the politicians, they do know that Trump thought that he could go and take over. He thought that he was going to bribe. Now, this is Trump's mentality. He thought, since he bribes everyone and does everything underneath everything, he thought that he was going to bribe the central banks. He never thought that he was a puppet for the central banks. Even the money that he manages belongs to the central bank. Because every dollar that is created, it accumulates a tax.
Yeah. Well, no, and that's the reality. And the thing is, though, it's like everything that even we own, we call this the land of the free, but in our reality, if you own a piece of property, you don't technically really own it. You could really you don't own anything. You're allowed to stay there.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
you're allowed to stay there because you benefit the masses. You can benefit the masses.
We went from taxation without representation to taxation with representation. That's basically all that happened.
To serve the masses to what? To serve the master, which is the central bank, the one who creates the money, the one who creates the money. You just got to understand that. The one who creates the money that we work for and is got to looking for it every single freaking day, then it's really not difficult. Just like it's saying, just follow the money. I mean,
yes. Yeah. No, and I really get that. And I think for me, it's like when I looked at the whole situation, specifically with Trump, what my whole thought process was I was always an anti-establishment kind of guy. Like when Obama first got elected, I was Team Obama. I was like, yeah, woo. But then after a while, I just started noticing that there was nothing different about Obama's administration other than some of the social
Or
justice,
anything special.
left-leaning- Yeah, I mean, it was just George W. Bush with liberal stuff.
Yeah,
sprinkled
no
on top
shit,
of it. And I wasn't a George W. Bush fan, and I wasn't a Barack Obama fan, and that's why I voted in 2012 when it during the.
Well, isn't he on his like 12th book now or something?
I don't know. I don't know how many lives this guy's led. But
Yeah,
anyway,
that's a lot of memoir,
in 2012, I said no more to the political establishment. It's the first time I started registered as a libertarian, and I started voting libertarian. And in this last election cycle in 2020, after Trump
It puts you on the list now.
Well, no, what happened was I just realized that Trump is not a Republican. And I'll be, Republicans. Yeah, I was not a fan of Republicans. I didn't like Republicans. I didn't like the religious.
I remember when I told Rev, like in 2012, I was Republican. He looked at me like, really? I was like,
Do you remember that? I was
Yeah.
just like, it hit me sideways. But the reality is I'm looking at Trump. The fact that Trump is fracturing the Republican Party is a good thing. And I know a lot of people like on the left are, oh yes, no more opposition. They're Nancy Pelosi's out there and talking about, we need
God.
the Republican Party or whatever. No, she doesn't want the Republican Party either. She thinks she has something. But once this third party rises up, if Trump does come through and start a third party like they're saying he's going to do, like he's flirting with the idea of starting a third party, that is not a bad thing. I think the end to the
Well, I think that's why they were trying to impeach him again and undo all that drama, so that way he couldn't
run again. And
Yeah.
that's the whole reason why they impeached. Now you have to think about this impeachment. Was it unconstitutional? I don't know. Should a president be impeached after they leave office, especially if they only served one term? Maybe. I don't know. But the simple fact that it was political theater because they didn't want him to run because they knew that he could potentially win because a lot of people are being turned off to the Democrat Party and the way that they're going and also to the Republican Party because they do nothing. They do nothing.
Now look, just listening to this conversation, see how the main purpose of both of them is to divide the nation.
Yes.
If there's a division, you get control of it because you cannot control a unified nation.
Right.
You can fuck up with a divided nation because you can tell this side whatever you want, and you can tell this side whatever you want, and you in the middle. But when you have a unified nation, they can fuck with us.
Yeah.
And
A unified,
they want us divided. You be Democrat, you be Republican, you be liberal, you be this, you be that.
Yeah.
I think that's why we have gangs even.
It has to be a unified nation.
No, and that's true. Jesse Ventura wrote a really interesting book some years back called
Democrat
Democrats
Blood?
and Republicans.
Yeah, there you
basically
go.
saying it was a dual purpose book because what it did, it basically showed that yes, our government wants its people divided because you have to have an enemy. If you have an enemy, then you have to stand on it. So it's like it's combat. It's the us against them siege mentality.
Dad, you said it. You said it. Religion has to have an enemy. The devil. There has to be the bad.
It's the duality. Dualism.
Listen, no. Hey, just 1 second. Take the freaking devil out of the picture. What do we need society for?
Right?
What do we need religion for? Not society. What do we need religion for? Just take the devil away from the picture.
Yeah. So anyway, before we go forward, because we're like, what, half an hour?
We're at 32 minutes, 33 minutes.
So I wanted to start a new little segment, and we're going to do it in honor of Frank here. So yesterday I was handed this beer, and so every week or every episode, I am going to try a new flavored beer, something different. So this one, we don't have our second camera operating right now. So
that is good.
So
What
it's
is it?
it's called what does that say? Defantes? Phantom Bride?
You know I didn't.
It's an,
you know
it's
I
an,
didn't graduate.
It's an India Pale Ale.
You know why they call it that?
The Indian Pale Ale is really
Because they had to add extra hops.
Have you tried this before?
They had to add extra hops so they
so-
could transport it to India.
I'm going to take a picture of this and we're going to put it on the video. But yeah, it's a really interesting can. But so I was handed it to yesterday. It's 7.1 alcohol.
Are you going to talk about it or are you going to drink it?
Hey.
Really, man, by the time you drink it, it's gonna get boiled.
Put it in your mouth.
All right, so here it goes. Let me see. Oh, man. This smells really hoppy.
Oh, I love it. Should have brought a cup.
Hey,
And you see the crescendo and the music hit right at the same time?
wow. Actually,
He's drunk now. Jeez, John.
I'm a lightweight.
Hey, yeah, he's done, man. He's done. One save is done. You know, he can
Rise.
Right. Oh, your eyes.
Wow, this actually is Ed. Actually, for an ale, I've had hoppy beer with ale and all that. This actually is pretty good.
Well, thanks for
really
sharing.
good.
I can't have
It
them
is
now. You
really-
put it all in the deep throat of that thing. Jeez.
Here, have another Modelo.
Okay, talk me into it.
Oh
Did you want one?
no.
I'll take hers.
I can't get her to drink.
I'll take hers. I'll take it.
Oh, so anyway, so
You
yeah.
know, we never really asked my wife about her point in politics. She has a really good point too. We talked a lot about, we talk all the time about politics.
Okay.
And I really like her point of view too.
Okay, so and that's what we're gonna do. So right now, and you can do it in Spanish. We all understand Spanish here.
Except for Rev.
About Trump?
Yeah. Todo.
No,
¿Es lo que tú quieres? Hable.
she speaks good though. I like the way she speaks English. I really do. She really
What
does.
happened? What happened?
I vote for Trump because I couldn't vote for Hillary. It's just
Did you vote for
Yeah,
Trump
I
in
couldn't.
2016?
I just couldn't vote for Hillary.
Did you vote for Trump in 2016?
No, for
During Biden?
no.
No, you voted for Trump in 2020?
No, the one that you guys vote to.
Oh, 2020.
Oh, Gary Johnson?
Yes, Gary
Yeah.
Johnson.
Oh, you voted for Gary Johnson in 2000. Oh, did you tell her?
No.
Well,
Anyway, I just wanna say that.
Blanca really likes education a lot though. I know she says that politics is really not her major thing. But when he talks about education, I think she really has a good thing about education though.
Yeah.
Tell us, Mom, what do you really think, about the way education is right now? For example, in the United States, what do you see the difference between the United States education and the Mexican education? What's the difference you can perceive?
Well, right now everything is changing.
I think
Right now it's not
entrepreneurship.
school. But I would say that
yeah, but
Before
overall,
COVID.
though.
Well, because
Overall.
what was interesting is I didn't realize that my wife was telling me that when she was in Mexico, she was actually in a girls' school or
Private.
a private school in Mexico, and
Catholic school.
they taught them things that they don't even teach here in
Yeah,
high
well,
school.
you know what's crazy is when you see people from other countries come here and become successful, and you wonder why when we live in the freest country in the world, and when us that are born here have a hard time being successful.
That's an interesting.
You know,
point.
it's because, but when I look at the curriculum of even Mexico or other, actually New York's starting to adopt the Mexican curriculum. They teach entrepreneurship. They teach you how to go make money, how to hustle, how to start a business. You don't learn that here in America. Did you ever learn how to start a business here?
No.
We didn't even learn what the tax code was, for the most part.
And that's my point, though. See, we have a fucking nation that it is. I don't know why we're failing so hard. But again, the reason why is because there is no other nation that has right now. There are 9 political parties that are active. 9 motherfuckers pulling certain part of the. Nine freaking leeches. They're taking part of the segment of the population this way, another segment that way, another segment that way, and they have it divided in now. The United States is only divided in half. Imagine Mexico divided in 9 or 10 parts.
Oh, man. Well, at least you guys don't have Common Core like we have here. That's what's ruining everything.
Well, what did you learn in school that they don't learn here?
well, back then in my time, the
Like change a wagon wheel or...
I'm
I'm just kidding. I say that to my mom all the time.
She's gonna get mad at you.
I tell that
because-
to
No, wait. She's gonna get mad at you because when she got the chancla. See, when she watched the show with Atilio, she was so pissed at us because we kept on making fun of him and we wouldn't let him talk.
Oh,
So you gotta
I'm gonna
let her
turn
talk.
my mic. I'm gonna turn my mic off.
Okay, you were saying what are
no,
they?
I was saying that in my back then in my time when it was like I'm talking about 80s, the level of the school in Mexico it was like above from the one is here.
Well, I'm sorry, I had to turn my mic back on. I tease my mom all the time because my mom said when she was, when did we even get our first school anyway? She was like, you know what? They used to teach us in school how to change a tire, how to, like driver's ed, right? Like how to change a tire, how to do a jump start, all this stuff.
Yeah.
And I go, yeah, okay. I go, but Mom, it was different in your time, you know? Just think about it. You had to unhitch your horse, and you had to put on your saddle. And she goes, what the heck? So anyway, that's where that joke came from. Sorry, Mom, I love you.
No. But, going back to, Trump again, it's not a politician that he has the potential. Trump would have been a little bit smarter and not play so stupidly the way he did. Believe me, people,
I think he came too strong too quick.
Yeah.
Wait, sounds like me.
He would have just played it, just play a little bit, man. Get the whole place and really work and really listen to the needs of the nation. Because, come on. I say we came. I've been in the U.S. more than I've been in Mexico, so I really consider the United States part of my home as well.
Okay.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
I really do. The U.S. and Mexico for me is the same. I'm here, I feel at home. I'm there, I feel at home. And I tell you this much right now: if there was a foreign invader invading the United States, I'm in. Give me my fucking weapon, I'm in. The same thing here. There's a foreign invader here, I'm in because I feel the same way for both countries.
Nice.
When I go there, I have friends from all everywhere. I don't just because I see people for what they are. I don't really. I really look at the content of who they truly are. The values. You can see the values. If we have something in common that we can share some values, then that'll be fine. But again, you need to share those values, though.
Yeah.
Values. And if you don't share those values with somebody else, it's not going to be a connection. So I don't even know why we have walls. A wall is just made to divide. Why? It really doesn't make sense. A wall not in any way makes sense. In any way makes sense. And now look, it's going to be really hard. Just for our mentality, it's just fucked up. We just, as a human race, we are just no possible way. As the human race itself, why is it that we feel superior than other races only for their financial status?
Oh yeah, and that the American empire is a real thing, and I think that's something.
Yeah.
Look,
when you speak of poor nations that are doing poor financially, they're doing poor financially because they got a really fucked up government. That's the reason why they're doing poor.
And to acknowledge the fact that the United States might have had a hand in that in its past, too, especially when you look down in Panama or and during the Banana Wars and all of the exploits of the United Fruit Corporation.
Ecuador, you know exactly what happened with Ecuador. Now you bring the Banana War.
Yeah,
that was the fruit companies in the United States trying to overrule the entire fruit industry from Ecuador.
Yeah,
Manuelito, they call him Manuelito, became the president of Ecuador. Okay, and they tried to bribe him. They tried to bribe him like a motherfucker. They did everything they could. They couldn't be bribed.
Yeah.
They know they couldn't be bribed. Now they send this so-called specialist to the educational institutions, higher education institutions like universities. They send them with degrees of psychology, and they start getting these people to revolt against the government. And that's what they did. They send these people again. Took another 3 years in between, and they send these people into universities. What do you know? The students revolt against the government immediately.
Yeah.
Okay, Manuel makes a deal with them. Says, you're president. I want to help you. He wanted to change that. He wanted to completely change it. He did, right? He made a deal with the students. Nothing happened. The students were demanding better. They were demanding more infrastructure. They were demanding lower tuitions. They were demanding that it was equal for all, that everything that was the path to get into school had to be through merits, not through recommendations by certain political figures or wealthy individuals, but it had to be by merit.
Yeah.
So he actually made an agreement with the students. They couldn't get him. They couldn't kill him. They couldn't.
No.
What did they do? Then they send the so-called jackals.
Yeah.
And what did they do? His plane crashes 3 months after that.
Dang, what a coincidence.
Yeah. Well, no, Smedley Butler is probably, I think he still is the most highly decorated United States Marine. And he wrote a book because he was actually a part of all that stuff down there in South America. He wrote a book called War is a Racket. and he basically said that his time in the United States Marine Corps, because he died before World War II, so his time in the United States Marine Corps, he wasn't fighting on behalf of the American people, but he was fighting on the behalf of the United Fruit Corporation. You know, going down there. Yeah, he made the interesting quote or comment in his book where he said that Al Capone had a racket in 3 counties. He said, I ran a racket for the United States government on 3 continents.
Yeah, dang.
So it's really interesting. So there is some.
But you're fine as long as you pay your taxes.
Yeah, right.
Well, then you're good.
Another thing that happened with Panama. Okay, there was Manuel Noriega in Panama. They had made a deal with Panama to build a canal. That was the deal for 50 years. The time expired when they had to do a new contract. Okay, Manuel Noriega became the president, Vice Bush, United States, in the Bush administration. He became the president. He was fine. He was stealing. They all knew. They all this and all that. But they also thought, since they put Manuel Noriega in power, that when the contract renewed the contract for the Panama Canal, he was going to just go with it. Manuel Noriega refuses. He says he's not going to do that shit anymore. He's not going to sign that because, you know, he just didn't feel like it. He felt since he had so much money and he had all this, you know, all these friends, he thought that he could just do whatever he felt like doing.
Yeah.
And he's just not going to do anything. What Ronald Reagan says? Ronald Reagan says, no. We build a canal, we pay for the canal, we keep the canal. He sends a fucking army the next day and takes 4 bastards and puts them.
You know us Americans, man. We're like, say our name just 3 times. We're like Candyman. Just say our name. And we'll
exactly. So,
but we never leave. That's the problem.
We stay around.
You know, there's that running joke about Mexicans coming here and never leave. But us Americans, as a country, as a military, we're the same, if not worse. We'll go into a country, we'll never leave. You know what I mean?
Well, and I wanted, you know, because we're coming pretty close to almost an hour. So what I wanted to, you know, in our closing last few minutes, 10 minutes, what I wanted to do was, we talked a lot of what the problems are, and there is no perfect solution. You know, there is no perfect. Trump wasn't the perfect solution. I don't believe Biden definitely isn't the perfect solution.
Is he still awake, Tito?
Is he
probably
awake?
his bedtime right now.
So, and I'm just thinking, it's just like, you know, I don't want to be as cynical as what I'm seeing on social media and online, where you have, now that Biden's in office, you do have people that are just, he does no right, no. I mean, I might fall into it because I don't see much right coming out of his administration so far. But at the same
we're trying
time,
to be balanced.
You're not going to vilify somebody. And I think that's what's wrong. And I think there's a lot of people, they vilify Trump, and we're going to do a show after this about people that it's either one or the other. You got people that vilify Trump. He's the incarnation of Hitler, or worse,
or he's God,
or he's the second coming of Christ.
Yeah,
so it's
right.
like so
he's going to part the Red Sea here in a
He's
second.
neither one of those things because it's just not realistic. There's a lot of nuance there. But, you know, to you, Frank, it's like seeing what you've seen both in Mexico and then now, you know, what you've seen in the States, you know, with the knowledge and wisdom that you've seen that we haven't had a chance to see, that spans multiple countries. What do you think the I don't want to say the next step, but where do you see us going as a country,
right,
as a people? Like what is it?
We're screwed, right?
Do we have a positive future?
No, I don't think we're screwed. We've been here for a long time. We see that we're fucking up things. So it takes a little time though, but we will come around. The fossil fuels, they will be gone. It will be just a matter of time. The reason why they haven't gone is because, I mean, if the fossil fuels are gone, a lot of fucking countries will disappear. One of them will be Saudi Arabia immediately.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, you know, there's no good way to make solar panels. I mean, they cause more. They destroy the environment more than
Texas.
anything. You know,
There's Texas right now.
I say, why don't we just stop fucking using the fossil fuels? Let the emitters really, you know, if they want to be like that, then let's make all the solar panels for the whole world.
But see, solar panels they're only good for about 5 years, but the process in making them creates so much toxins that actually end up in the environment that it's not even anybody who is for solar powers, I think, does not doing the research.
There's some other. You know, have you ever looked at the blueprints of the Tesla motor?
Oh yeah.
Well, you know, I could do you one better than that. Nikola Tesla had his brainchild before World War II or World War I. I forgot what it was. He was going to give free energy to everybody. Like, wirelessly.
And the Tesla motor, it works with nothing. It works by itself, by grounding itself from the earth, and it runs for life. One motor that can a generator. Imagine one generator not
Dang.
running out of any fuel,
Yeah,
creating
for
electricity for life.
Now I want to
That
buy
is,
Tesla.
look at the blueprints of the Tesla
yeah.
motor.
Well, they're not gonna let that become mass market because then all the other companies go out of business.
That's what it is.
By the way, you can have your own little machine in your backyard, and then you have your generator 24/7. Why? Because it creates its own thing.
Yeah.
Remember that? This works pretty much like, remember those old bicycles that have like the little cylinder attached to the back of the tire?
Oh, for your lights? Yeah. Yeah.
You can tilt it to the side, attach the tire, roll, and produce electricity, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, a motor that is pretty much the same idea, but now it's grounded and it's just running constantly because its own movements creates its own electricity. Its own electricity produces more, so it's creating its own electricity to run
Yeah.
itself.
Dang.
Yeah. Interesting.
That's awesome. That's pretty badass, though. Can you imagine that? And then you put that in a car because cars are grounded by the rubber and the tires. So you got unlimited mileage if you think about
See,
it.
that technology exists. Sooner or later we're gonna have to come out of there. But we as a society, I think we're changing. There's a lot of new movements that are coming out there. The so-called cancel society. Do you know what I'm
Oh yeah,
talking about?
they try to cancel us every week.
Cancel culture. Cancel culture, exactly. Maybe cancel culture it's a different way of looking at things, though. I think.
Yeah.
Well, for me though, the crazy thing though, a lot of this technology, we're just rediscovering it, in a sense, because even just like if you a lot of the blueprints and schematics were taken by the FBI when Nikola Tesla was found in his hotel room. But from what they say, the stuff that he actually cooked up and improved and was working on was revolutionary, was life changing. I mean, that machine that they tore down in Chicago I think it was Chicago or wherever, Colorado, where they needed the metal for the war effort. I mean, that was supposed to give everybody free energy that was wireless. So your phone would, instead of being plugged in, it wouldn't need a battery. It would just be getting powered out of the air, essentially. Like a big Tesla coil.
Well, right now you can collect your electricity through Wi-Fi. If you get a Wi-Fi receptor, you convert that electricity from a
Wi-Fi signal.
From a Wi-Fi. The Japanese are working on that. Look at the Japanese right now. The Japanese are working on collecting electricity from the sun via radio waves.
Dang. And just think, those are bombarding us all day long, every day now.
24/7.
It's in your pocket. It's on your head. I mean, it's right here.
The radio waves are even at night. They don't stop. It's 24/7.
Even if you were to stop one transmission, it would still ricochet off the atmosphere and continue to until
exactly. They're coming from every angle from the universe.
Yeah.
From every angle.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man.
I think that we're going out that way. We're starting to move out. I can see now that the NASA landed its little robot in Mars. Was it yesterday?
Yesterday, yeah.
Yesterday around 1:00 in the afternoon, my time. That is good. That is good. We live in that. Now look, we're just getting out of our shelf. As far as we've gone so far is the Mir space station. That's as far as we are right now. The space station. We're not any further than that. We're stationed there now for astronauts can live there for months and all that.
Yeah, and that's barely out of our atmosphere, so it's like
just imagine though. See, once we get out of here, we're gonna think. Imagine now if you are born in space, when you don't see nothing, no upside down, no this, no that, you just see an endless opportunity to open your mind, which is the universe. Imagine you seeing that really. As a race, an endless opportunity to really see further than that. Why do we gotta struggle with each other here? That we gotta fight because I got more than you. You got better than me. My car is much shinier than yours. My house is bigger than yours. Oh, I make more money than you. No, fuck you. You make less. Why that though?
Yeah.
Why think that? Once we really create a colony in space and we really get out of this bullshit and we see things really out there, really that we don't perceive the needs of the social structure.
Yeah.
Because the needs of the social structure is what keeps us caged in.
Well, we might be closer to that than we think. We've actually gotten
I
some
think so.
transmissions from Ultra Centauri or whatever that the galaxy is, the closest one to us. They've found some radio waves coming from there.
Well, there's a lot of.
I think that's a little too far for that. I think right now what Elon Musk is doing with this, that is thinking about commercializing trips to the moon and to the space
That'd be
station.
badass, dude. They've already sold tickets.
Yeah, I know.
It's like,
It's got
dang.
tickets already sold, and that is a good thing. Just it's gonna come to the point when it's gonna be affordable for everybody. Like the cell phones at one point, remember?
Yeah.
You had these fucking big boxes. You needed a backpack to carry your phone, and only a few people had them.
Yeah.
Then a little bit, then all of a sudden, shit, everybody's got a phone. Man, I got 3 phones now, the size of them.
Yeah, for real.
If now technology too, though, this trips out, and then we're gonna perceive things in a different way. Now you perceive the universe, and we free ourselves from this bullshit, and we start perceiving things. Now we start seeing three-dimensional. Once we get this shell out of our shit, which is the gravity, what keeps us here. Gravity is a weight not just on ourselves, but it's a weight on everything.
Wait,
You know what
he
this-
sounds really spiritual. I don't.
Well,
think,
you know what this reminds me of, though, real quick? I'm sorry, because this is blowing my mind. Me and my brother-in-law, John, were talking about this last night. Remember that movie, The Village? Where the people that were in the village, they thought it was like the 1800s or something or whatever, but outside it was the modern day era.
Yeah.
In a way, we can think of it that way because we're trapped here. We're thinking things are one
laterally.
dimensional.
We
Yes.
see things laterally.
But once we
don't
break
live-
out, there's this whole world that's but it's crazy because that's what I tell my son. I'm like, dude, we're cruising around, we're driving, and you're like this, but you're missing out on the honeys walking over here. You're missing out on all this stuff, and you want to be here. Yeah, but I'm like, dude, you want to be here, and look at this girl got a nice ass, and you're just like this. I'm like, bro, you know what I'm saying? Like, come on, you know what I'm saying? Like, wake up. There's more, and I think that kind of correlates with what you're saying. I mean, there's more out there. Sometimes we just don't know. We don't have the vision to see it just yet. But
and on that, I know that we're coming up to the hour, so I just we can go. We got to have you back on again. I know that there's so much that we could talk about. I know an hour isn't enough to contain everything, but I definitely want to talk to you again because I do want to dive in a little bit about your thoughts. I don't want to say your belief, but your thoughts on religion, spirituality, and how that contrasts with how people see the world, whether it be atheism or whatever the case may be. But I don't want to dive into that right now because that's a whole nother can of worms. That will be another
like a bucket of worms.
Like I said, just telling you a little bit about me, man. We'll end up talking here for at least a month or two.
No, that's
That
cool.
will be just one side.
We'll make you a co-host of the show. You can be a frequent. We're gonna get you a frequent flyer jacket or something, a members only jacket.
Well, so anyways, so we've had that was an interesting and I don't even feel like we even talked about enough
We
stuff.
didn't even scratch the surface,
So that
which
was-
is good though, because that gives us more
Told you.
more content for next time.
Yeah, so next time we'll stay tuned. We will definitely have Frank back on to
Frank
talk
the
about
Tank.
Frank the Tank, all the way from Mexico. Mexico!
It's a pleasure, guys.
Michoacán.
Mama,
And
call me
Blanca.
a minute, okay? Te llamo en un momento, ma. I love you.
I love you
And
too.
Blanca.
Okay, man.
All right, this has been your.
Okay, guys.
All right, this has been
Alrighty.
your boy Sir Rev the Servant. My boy Play D
Yo.
on the ride with me, Blanca, and also Frank. You have been tagged.